So as you guys probably know, GPT-4 is around the corner, and there is a huge difference between GPT-3 and GPT-4. In fact, GPT-4 is already out to your subscriber. I think there's a $20 subscription, which gives you access immediately. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a little while. But the differences are seriously huge. Now, these differences are interesting because it makes GPT-4 a lot more creative and a lot more coherent. And I'm going to tell you why the coherence is important here. It can process longer pieces of text and even images. Now, I don't know about you, but when I used to use GPT-3 for text, whenever it was a longer piece of text, I had to reprompt GPT-3 to continue because I believe there's a 4,000 word limit or 4,000 character limit, at which point it truncates the rest of the information. So you have to reprompt GPT-3. Now, you might think that this is probably fine, but the problem is, since it was not as coherent as we would like it to be, it occasionally would not really take all the previous text it wrote into consideration, particularly if you reprompted it multiple times, if the text was really long. This is something that's going to be fixed in GPT-4 as it's going to produce a lot more text, so the limit is far wider, and it's going to be a lot more coherent, so it's going to be able to keep track of all your conversations exactly. It's going to take all the context into account. This is extremely important, particularly when it comes to coding, because with GPT-3, when you needed to code something, your code would get truncated if it was a little bit longer than it should be. So if you were trying to build an app, the most basic app would probably fit, but as soon as you start adding some extras to that app, you want something else, different kind of buttons, some different utilities, then it becomes a bit longer, and then you start getting your code truncated. Again, this is not a humongous issue for coders who know what they're doing because they can chop up the code into smaller pieces and then fit those pieces in like a puzzle. But if you're new to coding, if you're a basic coder or not a coder at all, this would not be helpful for you because even if you reprompt GPT-3 to continue the code from where it was truncated, it would actually write the code in a completely different format. It would look completely different. It would do completely different things, and it would not fit with the rest of the code. So you could not just copy and paste. Whereas GPT-4, seeing as it's going to have this coherence and the fact that it's going to be able to print out a lot more than one reply, you're going to be able to fit a hell of a lot more code, possibly even write the full code for a small app. Now, once it gets bigger than that, you're going to have an issue. Then in that case, we're going to have to wait for GPT-5 and 6 and whatever comes next. The other interesting thing, as we said, is that you can now include images, and GPT-4 has access to online information. So unlike GPT-3, which I believe had limited information up to 2021 and was based on specific sets of data, GPT-4 is going to be able to access the whole of the internet. So it's going to be able to get you up to date, last second kind of information that you need. You're going to be able to give it a website, tell it to summarize it, or perhaps change the wording and give you a different version of it, or perhaps give you a specific version of the code would make you able to reproduce such a website if you like the design of a website. Perhaps even make a search on specific photos within that huge website. I mean, who knows? It's endless, but it's going to be extremely helpful and far more helpful than it was with GPT-3. This access to the internet does wonders. I can imagine that it could cause some issues too, but we'll see what happens. And the images is also interesting as we can see the world of Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and the world of Chat AI slowly merging and forming this giant AI that can do everything almost. One big question people have, and I hear it very often, is what's going to happen soon? Developing so quickly, by leaps and bounds, week to week. It's not a thing that develops yearly. It's something that changes drastically on a weekly basis. So what's going to happen? Are they going to take our jobs? People ask within the next, few months or few years for sure. Well, for now, these language models affect about 10% of jobs. worldwide and can influence half the tasks that people do in other jobs. So basically, it can help some people do their jobs better, and it could potentially completely take the jobs of some others. It used to be said and thought that AI was going to take over the least paying jobs first and then move up the ladder, but it seems like it's the other way around. It seems like the highest paid jobs are the most affected by the AI changes. And we're talking about occupations like interpreters, translators, researchers, scientists, of course, writers, public relations specialists, mathematicians, blockchain engineers, and so on and so forth, accountants, auditors, secretaries, and administrative assistants. On the other hand, some jobs that are not affected at all would be dishwashers and meat and poultry cutters, salters, and so forth, because these jobs are actually going to require a lot of physical labor. But those jobs would also be at risk at one point once the field of robotics is developed enough and cheap enough to replace those jobs. But those are the jobs that we want replaced. We would like people to get even higher education and have a supervisory role rather than having a hands-on role where they can tell the machine everything. So we would use our brains for creative purposes because the AI cannot be as creative as us humans. And they would do the dirty work. They would do the hard work. So in my personal opinion, this is all good. Now, of course, there's always dangers with AI, with letting it run loose and with being weaponized, which most probably will happen to some extent, but hopefully we're going to be smart enough to not allow it to go too far. Might not happen that soon, though. Speaking of images, Midjourney version 5 is out. It just came out. And again, it's far superior to its predecessor, which was Midjourney 4, surprisingly. Um, some of the differences are much bigger aspect ratios. You could only have certain aspect ratios, and the previous one now you can have like extremely long or large pictures, panoramic, etc. The images that V5 will be producing would already be upscaled. That's one step less for you and also much better results. And again, it's going to have a lot of coherency, which is something we just saw with GPT-4. So there's a focus on this coherency now where Midjourney 5 will be able to take prompts that are not engineered like we used to engineer them, but rather it's going to understand normal language. So you'll be able to talk to it just like you talk to GPT-4. This is what I was saying earlier. GPT-4 is going towards the coherency and the additional image inclusion, whereas the image AIs are going towards the chat inclusion. And this is where I see that eventually both are going to merge, and they will merge with other high-end and brand new technologies such as the blockchain, which will be extremely useful for AI and vice versa, and robotics, and later obviously quantum computing, but that's a far way off. So every week you're going to find something new. I just found something very interesting, which is this video that you can upload, and it actually maps the person and separates the person from the background, so you can use that person, or rather the avatar that it creates of that person, into an app. Imagine how easy it's going to be to develop games later on in time as this technology advances. Be able to create at least some sort of playable, fun game where you can just record yourself doing an activity and you get an avatar with your own movements or with the movements of a certain person which you're trying to include inside your game. Absolutely mind-blowing how fast this is advancing. And I'm going to leave a link to their GitHub in the description for you guys to follow, as it seems like the code is coming soon and you might be able to use that code and try it yourself, perhaps in Stable Diffusion. Of course, AI doesn't only affect video, images, and text. It also affects audio or music. We can do lip sync, as you've probably seen some videos online lately, something like a deepfake, as well as generating music. You have websites like sounddraw.io, boomy.com, Soundful.com, multiple AI websites where you can generate your own music, and you should give them a try. It's really fun, actually. And the cool part is that that music is license free most of the time, particularly if you subscribe, which means that you can use that audio pretty much anywhere. Of course, we will be discussing all of these in future videos. The music part, the images, the videos, and the text, as we're extremely interested in that field. We will bring up a lot of specific projects. We will talk about overall news, and we will try to include all the brand new technologies that are definitely going to end up meshing together, such as blockchain and other technologies. Now, as far as blockchain goes, we will touch upon crypto. We will be discussing crypto in general, where we see it going, crypto projects specifically, NFTs, and specifically NFT projects that have a lot of promise. As we see the next wave of NFTs being in the gaming industry. Gaming makes the most sense for NFTs, or digital collectibles, as some prefer to call them, since we have been collecting those skins over a decade already. So giving us complete rights to those skins to be able to do whatever we want with them, owning those skins and being able to trade them, resell them, earn them, or perhaps use them in our businesses, that's amazing. That's an amazing advancement. And therefore, it has intrinsic value when it comes to gaming. We think that NFTs and gaming are going to be a great match in terms of the Web3 games for the moment. That is, the games that are natively Web3. There is an issue with games and NFTs being mixed when it comes to the traditional devs and publishers, and we will touch upon that topic definitely as well. So we will be bringing up quite a few NFT projects that are building games that we see as being quite interesting to be involved in. We will also be discussing ways to make money using all these technologies, because all those technologies are very cool, but how can we make money out of them? How can we do something with it? We will be discussing all of these in future videos. For now, I will leave you with this wonderful AI-made video clip of The Matrix featuring Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby. And I will leave the link to the full video in the description. See you soon.
Vanilla Ice Ice Baby. Vanilla Ice Ice Baby.
Now that the party is jumping, with the bass kicked in and the Vegas are pumping, quick to the point, no faking. Cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. Burning if you ain't quick and nimble. I go crazy when I hear a cymbal and a hi-hat with a souped up tempo. I'm on a roll, it's time to go solo. Rolling in my 5.0, rag top down so my hair can blow. The girlie's on standby, waiting to say hi.
Did you stop?
No, I just drove by, kept on, pursuing to the next stop. Busted a left and I'm heading to the next block. The block was dead, yo, so I continued to A1A, Beachfront Avenue.
Girls were hot wearing less than bikinis. Rockman lovers driving Lamborghinis.
Jealous.
Cause I'm out getting mine. Shay with a gauge and Vanilla with a 9.
Ready for the chumps on the wall. The chumps acting ill cause they're full of 8-ball. Gunshots, rings out like a bell. I grabbed my 9, all I heard were shells falling on the concrete real fast. Jumped in my car, slammed on the gas, bumper to bumper. The avenue's packed. I'm trying to get away before the jackers jack.
Police on the scene, you know what I mean. They passed me up, confronted all the dope fiends.
If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it.